So I was going to leave my London trip as like a visual diary type of situation. However, there are some points that I wanted to be able to discuss that I didn't get to talk about earlier in the video. Even in the midst of my disappointments, I was very pleased with London. I sound like I'm beatboxing in the microphone, so let me just move it a little bit. Overall, I was very pleased with London. And one thing that I wanted to mention is the impact of fashion. I love traveling places and seeing how they dress. There is a difference on, like, you can look up like, oh, how did the UK girlies dress, and like, oh, on TikTok, like they'll say like, oh, this is how they dress in Europe, and then like they're completely wrong. So being able to be in person and seeing the different outfits together is just amazing. From what I've seen, like everything is really chill. Everything, how the UK girlies dress is, I mean, just everyone in the UK overall, it's very feasible, very manageable. There's a lot of walking that you have to do, so there's no reason to walk around in high heels. And of course, like for one of my pictures, I put on like some boots, but I did go out to dinner with those boots on like later on that night, but I took Uber. And that's the only time, well, that's the one of the 3 times that I took an Uber while I was there, because everywhere else I took the train and I was walking, and I had on really comfortable shoes, and I was walking for miles. So like, whoa. Anyway, just getting into the outfits. I wanted to be able to discuss how seeing them dress has impacted me and just was reassuring to me, because in the UK they dress more modestly, and I really appreciated that. Not seeing women that are modestly dressed. I mean, I saw like a spectrum of modestly dressed women. Some women that were clearly Muslim, and some women who were not and were still modest. And just seeing the ranges of fashion, whether it was more elevated, I could clearly see that some people were going to work, some people were just walking their children to the park, some women were going to go get tea or coffee with their girls or friends, or some women were out just walking or whatever, minding their business. It was just really inspiring to see other modest women dressed. And the reason why I say that is because walking down the street and there's usually not anyone dressed like you, it can be very intimidating. It can be very discouraging, and it's very hard. If you're already anxious to start a journey on dressing more modestly, which I also want to say has nothing to do with conservatism, but has everything to do with me and God, having a background of being a Black American girl who grew up with the BAP mentality that I already talked about multiple times, the BAP handbook. As you can see, I'm not just making things up. It is the Black American Princess Handbook. This is a copy of the original book that I had. They're no longer really selling the hard copies. The hard copies are going for like $90 because they're not being distributed anymore. What my point is that I received this book when I was like my son's age. So I was like, I don't know, 3rd, 4th, I don't know. My mom did not let me read it until I got older, and I flipped through the book, and like, I'll go over it one day. I will go over this book one day, just to kind of dissect it. Who we looked up to, they weren't really dressing modest. Who we looked up to were in media. They were in pop culture. They were it girls. Like, they were socially accepted by everyone, and more so they were socially accepted by men. They were seen as conventionally attractive and had attractive figures. They had beautiful hair. They always had makeup done, whatever. They were very put together women. And so that, of course, we can deep dive another day, like I said. That is kind of the culture that I'm coming from. And so I know I've talked to multiple different women that are Black, that are Hispanic, that are white, that are Arab, it is difficult coming from cultures that you and your value is determined on what you look like, not necessarily like your personality or how smart you are or your accomplishments. It's more so what you look like and who you're dating or who you marry is basically a representation of your worth. That is a struggle to come from that all the way to dressing modestly. And so being able to be in the UK and see how women are just so effortlessly dressed in abayas and hijabs, and even the women that aren't Muslim just being able to wear a dress and tights and with cute little short pumps or flats. Like, it's just really inspiring and it's assuring. And I love seeing that because representation is everything. If you look around your environment and you don't see anyone else that's really dressed like you feel like an oddball. You feel uncomfortable. It makes you feel just like, do I look weird? You already feel weird because you're doing something different that you're not used to. And so being in an environment where I don't feel weird, if anything, if I wanted to dress more modestly when I was there, it just felt great. It felt great to me and I loved it. Now I didn't really have time to do like clothes shopping. I didn't have a lot of time. I was just on the go a lot, but I really want to be able to go back to the UK. This makes me want to travel even more. Like, I have always been a person that loves traveling, and now traveling as someone who is more modest, someone who has different perspectives and like values in their life is very insightful. I enjoyed the small moments the most. Of course, there were some big, extravagant moments that I got to see, like, going to the palace and being able to be with the tourists. But I found that to be so draining, and I really enjoyed like the small parts of being in the boroughs with the locals, talking to street vendors, talking to locals, and just having a general conversation. I even met this woman from Ghana. I mean, she was gorgeous, had a bald head. She was very fashion forward. She had a beautiful array of like vintage pieces. I even tried on this like Chanel leather jacket, and I looked at it and I was like, yeah, I can't fit that. I can't fit that. And if I can fit it, it's not a good thing because I don't need it. I do not need to be buying no no, I'm already making an impulsive decision by being in the UK. I don't need to be buying no Chanel jacket. Or do I? But she was like, I was just curious. I was like, how much is it? And she was like, I won't tell you till you try it on. And I tried it on, and of course, like, I knew I couldn't fit it because I always struggle with jackets and tops because I have a larger bust than the rest of like my top half. Like, my arms are smaller, my waist is smaller, but I have a larger bust. So it's difficult to find tops and jackets that actually fit. And then even at like this other shop, they had some beautiful blazers I loved. And I tried on some of their like custom made jackets. It was so cute. But it was oversized. Like, it wasn't the oversized look that I was going for. It just made me look more masculine, and I didn't like that. I'm someone who dresses very feminine, and yeah, it just wasn't for me. But I'm still exploring tops. Tops have been a very difficult thing for me to explore. And I say all this to say that yes, I complained earlier about the things I didn't like about London, but truthfully is like, you'll find that everywhere. You'll find rude people there. Like, you'll find rude people in your own city, in your own country, within your own community. You'll find rude people. You'll find people that are weird, and that's what I encountered. I was like, okay, like, these people are interesting. Like, but it's a mindful experience to be able to be entrenched in other people's culture, other people's like worlds. And it just, I think the number one thing to remember when you're traveling is one, always pack light. Okay, I have finally got to the point where I'm packing light. Yay! And I used to pack so much, but for what? Like, no. One, pack light. Two, always take something back with you. It doesn't necessarily have to be physical, but take some information back with you. I feel like I took snapshots. Sorry, if you hear my son in the background, it's because he is having the time of his life in his room, playing with his toys. I feel like I took a snapshot of women's outfits. I was like, shh, shh, shh. Because it would be weird for me to record them, and it's also disrespectful. I'm not gonna record other people in their outfits, like, but some people do that. It's so weird. Don't do that. But I'm taking that with me. I'm taking how they styled their hijabs, their abayas. I'm taking how chill they dress, like on their way to work, like how they can be so polished and also be comfortable. I'm taking that with me. I just love the elevation that they put into their everyday style. I love it, and everybody has like their own characters, and it just encouraged me to be myself more, not to be a monolith of anyone else. And I think that is what another thing that I'm struggling with as I am in this modest journey, is that I don't want to, and I think that's what I was, speaking of earlier with the BAP handbook, going through this modest journey and being a Black girl is really difficult because I don't want to let go of my culture. And some things like I could let go of and I'm totally fine with, but some things I'm like, I don't know, you're gonna have to pry that out of my hands. It's up to me ultimately. Some things that I want to keep, some things that I don't. All in all, I just want to continue being myself. I don't ever want to lose myself. I don't ever want to feel like I'm being someone else. I don't want to ever feel like I'm cosplaying as someone else. Like, I know that this journey has been like really abrupt, and like, especially for people that know me or people that kind of indirectly know me. Maybe they follow me on Instagram, or they have seen a couple of videos on YouTube, or maybe knew me when I was creating a different type of content, because I was a pole dancer. And I'm coming from that, where I was still very fashion forward before, but going from that to now being fully covered can be shocking. But one, I don't have to explain to anyone, and this is why I've been kind of slow to kind of talk about my journey like deeper in depth, because even though I already talked about it, it's multiple layers to it. I don't owe anyone an explanation. I don't. Like, I can wake up tomorrow and be like, I want to shave my head, and I can do that. I can shave my head. Or I can wake up tomorrow and be like, you know what? I want to go to the UK, and I can go to the UK. And of course, you have to think about things rationally and making sure that, you're doing it for you, or you're doing it in your best interest, and you're not like going down a spiral. And I've thought about things for a long time, and this modesty journey has benefited me more than it's harmed me. And the only thing that is like I can think of that it might be harming is that people might perceive me different, but I just don't care. I don't care anymore. Like, I don't care whether people think it's weird that I'm dressing more modestly. I think it's weird that people think that it's weird that I'm covering up more. This is a personal journey. I have always wanted to dress more modestly, but I have always been conflicted about my motive. Like, I have always admired women who are effortlessly able to be modest, where it's been a struggle with me because of the type of world I live in. And now that I'm unlearning that, I think it's the most beautiful experience that I've ever had. And so creating this content is more than just like, oh my gosh, like look at my purse, look at my clothes, look at this, look at that. Like, oh, I'm just changing up my style. It's deeper than that. And I just really want to be able to be transparent because one, this is not an easy process. I've had a lot. I've even like guys, like I have like no lie, I have cried in the mirror some days with my hijab on. I'm like, oh my god, like it's just tough. And until you put yourself in those, like in that scenario or something similar, you don't know what it feels like to be going through this journey and how brave you have to be openly expressive in public about your struggles and where you were at one point and then changing to another. You just don't know. So if you don't know, you have no say so to be able to like counteract to where people are going. I really enjoyed my time in London, and it was very reassuring to me about like the journey that I'm on and where I'm heading, physically, like the way that I dress, spiritually, like internally. And it felt like a reset. And now I feel like I can focus. I don't feel so like overwhelmed and clustered, because when you're constantly moving, going, whatever, you absorb a lot. And being taken out of your environment for just a split second, observing how other people live and talk and do things, and coming back and observing your own environment, one can make you more appreciative and grateful, but it can also inspire for you to do better. And I feel really motivated. So that's the last thing that I wanted to mention in my video about London. Thank you for staying to the end. If you haven't subscribed, I don't know why. You need to subscribe and be on the lookout for my next video. I'm trying to get out videos at least once a month. I'm a busy girl. I'm not sorry. So I am trying my best to get out content, and I've been doing a pretty good job of getting out content once per month. So be on the lookout for my next video. And I say at the end of every video, stay blossoming. Bye.